Hi everybody, this is Allison from Thriving While Disabled. I just want to talk to you guys today about the post that I put out on Friday about victimhood and the victim identity. What I'm talking about in there is this idea that a person who embraces the victim identity and holds on to it and has that become a large part of their identity is only going to be hurt by that process. I think it's really important to recognize that while there are a lot of ways to be attacked, to be victimized, be hurt, there is always some form of next step that you can take to heal, to re-empower yourself, to take back your life, your identity. Not return to normal necessarily, but create a new normal that is healthy for you. And what I've seen happen and recently experienced is that sometimes people don't do that. And instead of recognizing that bad stuff happens and then they can take back some form of control, manage their life situation, that they don't have to stay a victim. They don't do that, and they get stuck in this identity of a victim. And part of the problem is if you are stuck in the identity of a victim, that means that everyone around you potentially or probably is an abuser. Just think about that. And so Umar, thank you. And so I just want to have you think about this idea of that victim identity. And yes, of course, bad things happen. Things can go wrong, things can hurt you. And being hurt is natural. And spending some time sitting in that pain and sitting in that hurt and recognizing that you were hurt and it's not your fault, or that you didn't intend to be hurt, or that it was something outside of your control. That is normal and healthy. Hi Shahar, thanks so much for joining. But there has to be a point where you decide to step up, step forward, and take over your own life again. I've had multiple times that I've been a victim of various things, a victim of circumstance and my functional neurological disorder happening, a victim of bullying while I was in school, a victim of many different things, of ableism in a lot of different forms. But my choice, my very active choice every time has been, after I acknowledge what has happened and acknowledge my pain, I then take some time to step up and take back control over my life and take back control over my activities, my actions, and recognize that while what happened to me was bad, was hard, that's not who I am. That's not what defines me. Because I was hurt by one person doesn't mean that everybody else will hurt me. The thing that inspired the post and my talking now was in a group I'm part of by request, another member basically assumed that my movement symptoms were actions and responded really poorly to them. There were two different incidents, one of which I got symptomatic and he told me that I had to calm down. And the other time he called my attention, and because I was already in an emotional space, I had my symptoms triggered and I lost control of my legs and collapsed. And he rolled his eyes at me, kind of said, whatever, and turned away instead of having the conversation that he'd obviously intended to. And so I called out the ableism in it. he also has disabling conditions, apparently something associated with anxiety. And it's something he had shared in spaces, and I was aware of that. However, I didn't think that was relevant. He still made presumptions. He still responded to my symptoms as if they were intentional actions. And so I called it out. And he claimed victimhood. And kept saying that he was the victim of my behavior, or he responded because he was a victim of my behavior, and never took any kind of responsibility for that, for his actions. And it really hurt. And as I've sat with it and thought about it, one of the things I'm recognizing is that in many ways, he's only hurting himself. I would have accepted an apology. I just wanted an acknowledgement that I was hurt. I wanted an acknowledgement that what I experienced was disrespectful. And I didn't get that. And his choices feel really weird to me, because basically, even though for me, he was coming from a place of privilege and power, using that to put me back, he claimed that his demand that I calm down was actually a response to his own fears of me when I did nothing to him and I directed nothing at him. And I know from my own experience that I have tended to fall into these mental and emotional traps for brief periods of, oh, this happened, I'm stuck, now what, I can't move forward, things like that. And what I've had to do every time is pause and look at myself and go, wait a minute. Yeah, it was a bad thing. Yeah, it was hard. But I'm not going to let that define my life. I'm not going to let that rule my next steps. I'm not going to let that keep me from doing things. I'm just going to keep going. And maybe I can learn something from this. But my job is to take care of myself. And what I'm going to do next is just that. Take care of myself. And put myself in a position where I can move forward. And for me, that moving forward has generally been finding new ways to live in this space, or sharing a story to, empower others, or let them know what I've been through and how I fought back. So, in this current case, what did I do? I called out his actions. I reported it to the appropriate people. In other cases, when I've been on the train or in other public spaces and had something happen, like, for example, I've had people suggest that I shouldn't be riding the train, and, I'm on my way home from a busy day, so I'm symptomatic, and they don't understand how it works. When I've had, various failures in my life, or my symptoms have set me back, I tend to look at it all and take a step and go, okay, but what can I do now? What's my next step? Where can I go from here? And so it's been for me all about that, okay, my symptoms have held me back, but what was the lesson? What can I do now? How can I move forward? And I'm not stuck in the victim role. I'm not, because something happened and because I got hurt doesn't mean I'm going to get hurt the next time I try something. And maybe I need to find a new, or adjust my circle of friends, or maybe I need to adjust something in my behavior, or maybe I just need to have a slightly thicker skin, or be able to reassure myself that, whatever it was isn't going to happen again. I do a lot of meditation to try to manage when I'm emotionally upset, and I do put a lot of time and effort into managing my state of mind when I'm dealing with stress. But I don't ever want to get stuck in that I'm a victim, I got hurt type mentality. Because getting stuck there, suddenly everybody's potentially going to hurt you, and everybody's potentially, and you're looking at everything from that perspective of expecting to be hurt, from expecting others to not take your side, expecting to be not supported, and expecting to be the victim again. And also, it's a very passive state. You're accepting a lack of power that doesn't necessarily exist, and you're just letting yourself be heard and setting yourself up to be heard again and again and again, and that's not healthy for anybody. And all I want is for people to kind of take some time and reclaim their power in whatever way they need to. Recognize that you do feel disempowered after being a victim of anything, and what you need to do is try to take a lesson from it and try to move yourself forward in whatever way works for you. I do, like I said, meditation, gratitude, self-love, focus, thinking about when things happen, if it's because of choices I've made and if those choices were worth it. Because sometimes something goes wrong, but it still was worth doing. And sometimes you get hurt, but it was worth doing. And sometimes you only got hurt because this one person, did something that was damaging or disrespectful. But the rest of the space, the rest of the group, the rest of the whatever is okay. And as long as you learn to manage things, you'll be all right again. And it's just about taking care of yourself, empowering yourself, and being strong, but not in the muscular kind of way. Being strong in the emotional, accepting what has happened, and accepting you couldn't change that moment, and accepting that you can create a plan to help you better manage the next potential moment, or the next time there's a chance of things going sideways, without having it dictate your life, or dictate your actions, or dictate your choices. So I will likely be talking more on this in the future. But until then, everybody hang in there and keep thriving.